All right, everybody, we have some interesting new developments on the Jeffrey Epstein front. First, a development with Prince Andrew. Now, if everybody will recall, Prince Andrew, he's one of the lesser members of the royal family, not, like 8th or 9th or whatever, in line for the throne. He was pictured and was a friend of Jeffrey Epstein with his arm wrapped around a 17-year-old girl who had been allegedly trafficked to Andrew's mansion. Of course, you can see it there. You can literally see it before your very eyes. Prince Andrew has basically been dragged through the press for his affiliation with Jeffrey Epstein, trying to defend himself in a recent new interview with BBC News. It was stunning, the level of which he refuses to take responsibility for his actions. Let's take a listen to that.
If you're a man, it is a positive act to have sex with somebody. You have to take some sort of positive action. And so therefore, if you try to forget, it's very difficult to try and forget positive action. And I do not remember anything. I've racked my brain and thinking, oh, well, when the allegations came out originally, I went, well, that's a bit strange, I don't remember this. And then I've been through it and through it and through it over and over and over again. And no, nothing. Never happened.
That is such a train wreck of a denial. Look, we have the photo. You can see, I put it up on the screen. I mean, it's right there. He had his arms wrapped around a 17-year-old girl. She says that she was sexually assaulted by many of these people. And yet he's like, oh, well, it's a positive act. And listen to this. Look how he actually still talks about Epstein to this day, a known, at this point, sexual predator.
There is video footage of Epstein accompanied by young girls. And you were there, staying in his house, catching up with friends.
If they were, then I wasn't a party to any of that. I never saw them. I mean, you have to understand that his house, I described it more almost as a railway station, if you know what I mean, in the sense that there were people coming in and out of that house all the time. What they were doing and why they were there, I had nothing to do with.
Wow.
Never saw them.
Nothing to see here.
You literally slept in the same house. We literally have a photo of you with one of those young girls who was sexually trafficked. And you never saw them. You had no idea what was going on there. This is, it is stunning that he's getting away with this.
And let's not forget the context as well, that Amy Robach was caught on that hot mic saying, we had it all, we knew it all. And why did the story get spiked, according to what she said on that hot mic?
Because of the palace.
Because the palace was worried. They didn't want to lose their ability to have a sit-down interview with Will and Kate. They wanted to protect this guy. And to this day, who is being protected? How much of the news media will cover this story today?
You're going to see this on ABC? Forget it. CBS, all these other places, don't hold your breath.
The only person they're trying to hold to account is the person who actually leaked that hot mic video so that we could all see in the world how disgusting it is, the way that the news media protects perverts and predators who happen to be powerful men.
Yeah, exactly, and it just shows you how deep and again, all these media organizations, these companies whose entire job, whose literal ethics are to go after the powerful and expose this, refuse to touch it because they've all done the same thing. Every single one of them has the same type of story that's sitting in their vault, and they can't do it because then they'll get criticized if that eventually comes out. So they go on a hunt for the leaker. It creates an environment of complicity around the cover-up for Jeffrey Epstein that continues to this day. The man is dead, and they're still continuing to cover for him. Prince Andrew, a member of the British royal family, gives this interview, in which he's obviously not telling the truth, and yet nobody is checking this. And at the same time, and luckily, the GOP leader, Kevin McCarthy, he sent a letter. This is breaking news from Megyn Kelly, has sent a letter to ABC's President James Goldstein asking him why the network quashed Amy Robach's investigation into Jeffrey Epstein in the first place. Now look, he's the GOP, minority leader. Will the letter actually do anything? But you should be quaking in your boots if you're ABC News, because if the government and if people with subpoena power begin to become involved, and as they should, this is a criminal cover-up of the highest order in American society, then you better be ready to answer some questions here.
Well, and remember they put out some BS statement saying, oh, it didn't meet our editorial standards. Same thing that NBC News said about Ronan Farrow's reporting on Harvey Weinstein. Oh, it didn't meet our reporting standards, when he was able to, like 60 days later, put out at another outlet a Pulitzer Prize-winning piece of journalistic reporting, exposing and laying bare the whole thing. And the other thing that Amy Robach, I mean, it's just exactly like Ronan's experience that they told her, was that, like, oh, who knows who Jeffrey Epstein? This isn't a story. Please, this is a guy who was connected to people, Democrats, Republicans, powerful, influential figures across the board, and you don't think this is a story? Come on.
You know what is a story? Prince Andrew with his arm wrapped around a 17-year-old girl. What's another story? Bill Clinton flying on the jet of known pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. What's another story? ABC News chief political anchor George Stephanopoulos, Katie Couric, and all these other famous people having dinner at Jeffrey Epstein's house after he has become a convicted sex offender. What do we know from the Manhattan DA's office of the wall art that was pulled off of Epstein's walls? Literal, like him posing naked, all this like weird pedophile.
Alex Acosta giving him a sweetheart deal down in Florida.
Yeah, getting sweetheart deals from the United States government, doing 6 days a week, in which he continued to to go after and exploit women. I mean, this is the thing. It is a rot that runs so deep throughout media, throughout our government, throughout everything, that people need to begin asking questions. And the way that the people involved in this have gotten off scot-free is disgusting.
And just to tie this all up, when CNN and everyone else gets so upset that President Trump, and I don't support him in this rhetoric, but calls them fake news, and they just put it on him, that he's just nasty, he's just wrong. They don't do any self-reflection on why that rhetoric may land with a lot of America, or Bernie Sanders for that matter, when he talks about the corruption of the news media. They do zero self-reflection on why that critique may land. Well, this is Exhibit A. This is why, and the fact that you still aren't covering it, it is a shame.
Yeah, well, we've all noticed, but thank you guys for tuning in. We are going to have more Rising for you right after this.